right, so let's review a little bit for this mini test. We have parallel lines. If we have parallel lines, then that means that these angles match up, all of them, right? Like this one will match up with this one will match up with this. All the angles in the same position will match up. So if this is 142, this is in the same position as that one, so that's also 142. Same thing for this problem. However, if this is 131, then that means this one down here is 131. So if that's 131, how much is the one right next to it? Because two angles on a straight line must add up to 180. So angle X is really just 180 minus 131, and that is 49 degrees. Okay, for number 4, now the 3 angles, I'm doing 4 before 3, that's fine. The 3 angles in a triangle add up to 180, so you can make a little equation here saying 29 plus 4x plus 19, just 9, plus x plus 17 is equal to 180, combine like terms. So we have 5x, right, because 4x plus 1x is 5x. Now 29 plus 9 plus 17, let's see how much that is. 29 plus 9 plus 17, and we get 55. So that's 5x plus 55 is equal to 180 minus the 55 on both sides. So 180 minus 55 is 125. So 5x is equal to 125. 125 divided by 5 is 25. So x is 25. They were asking to solve for x, so that's our final answer. But let's say they were asking you to find this angle, you would substitute the 25 in for the x. That's if they were asking you to find that angle. But they are not. Okay, same thing here. Actually, if this is 130, how much must this angle be? Remember, straight line is 180, so this must be 50. All right, 130, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Yep, that's 180. And the 3 angles in this triangle must add up to 180 as well. So we're just going to subtract the 113 and also the 50. So let's see what that is. 180 minus 113 plus, 67, then minus that 50, and we get 17 degrees. So this is 17 degrees. Okay, QRST is a parallelogram. Find angle R. If this is a parallelogram, and it says that it is, opposite angles have the same measurement. So that means this is also 135. They also told you this one's a parallelogram. So in a parallelogram, we know consecutive angles, which are angles one right after the other, must add up to 180. So if this one over here is 80, then this must just be 100 because they have to add up to 180. All right, same thing for these two. They must add up to 180, so this is also 100, and this is 80. But they didn't ask us to find those, they just asked us for that one. So that's the answer, 100. Okay, let's do some of these problems. All right, these are all regents problems that deal with angles. So we know we have a parallelogram, FRED, so FRED is a parallelogram. And AF, this is the important piece here, AF is congruent to DF. So that's an isosceles triangle. These two sides are congruent, which means that this you're thinking of as the top of the triangle. Just remember, there's no such thing as the top of a triangle, but for the case here, we could just think about it as the top, which means this is the base. And if that's the base, we know that the base angles in an isosceles triangle are congruent. If the measure of angle R is 124, so that's given to us. What is the measure of AFD? That's this angle right up here. So let's see, if this is 124, this is 124 because opposite angles in a parallelogram are congruent. So I'm looking at the straight angle. So how much is that angle right next to it? Well, we know the two angles in a straight angle must add up to 180. So 180 minus 124 is 56. So that means this little angle here is 56, which means this one too is also 56 because they are congruent. And now the three angles in this triangle must add up to 180. So 180 minus one of the 56 angles, and then I'm going to minus the other 56 angle, and I get 68. All right, so 68 degrees. That's your final answer. How did that happen? Okay. Okay, so we know we have a parallelogram, LMNO, with diagonal LN, and angle M is 118. They wrote it for us, and they wrote that this angle is 22 for us. Explain why the measure of angle NLO is 40 degrees. Now, I'm going to explain in words. I'm not going to write it down for you, but you have to write this down. All right. In a parallelogram, opposite angles are congruent. So this is 118. In a triangle, the three angles must add up to 180. NLO, by the way, is this one. They want to know why this is 40, right? Explain why it's 40. Well, the three angles in a triangle must add up to 180. So if we didn't know this angle, if we didn't know what that angle was, then we would just say 180 minus 118 and then minus the 22, right? We're basically subtracting away the other two angles from it. And let's see, when we do that, we should get 40. So 180 minus 118 and then minus that 22, and you do indeed get 40 degrees. Okay, number 9. The lines are parallel. ABC is this big line, EFG is this big line, BF is congruent to EF. Be careful, all right? Because I know right away some people are going to just do that, which is wrong. They tell you BF, so this is BF. EF is this one, so that's EF. So in this case, this is like the top of the triangle, and this is the base. So which means these two are the congruent angles, right? Because we have an isosceles triangle here. If the measure of angle CBF, so C to B to F, is 42.5, then the measure of angle EBF is, they want this angle over here. All right. Well, there are many ways to do this. I'm just going to choose one way that I could see very easily. If that's 42.5, I know that this one is also 42.5. And if you're wondering like how, well, that's okay. Parallel lines, right? Ignore everything else except what's in the green. Transversal. And remember what we said earlier, the angles up here must match up the angles down here. So if this is 42.5, then that means this is 42.5. And you should know this one little fact. And you could do this without knowing this fact too, but I'm not going to go through that. These two angles are vertical angles. So if this is 42.5, so must this one. All right, so that's how you could figure that out. Or you could just call it, right? If you already learned this, which we did in our class, these, I like to think about it as if you make a Z, a letter Z, these are the armpits of the Z. The armpits of the Z are congruent when the lines are parallel, right? And there's a special name for that. It's not called the armpits of the Z. It's called alternate interior angles. I'll write that right here. Right. Alternate interior angles. Okay, so the three angles in that triangle must add up to 180. However, if we are trying to find this angle up here, but we also know that this angle is the same measurement, we could just call it x as well. And then we can make a little equation saying that, hey, if I add the 42.5 with one of those angles, and then also with the third angle, right? So these are the three angles of the triangle, I must get 180. And we can solve this. So that's 2x plus 42.5 is equal to 180. Let's minus the 42.5 on both sides. So 180 minus 42.5 is 137.5. This is 2x is equal to 137.5. Divide that by 2, and you will get 68.75. All right, so each angle is 68.75 degrees. I'm just going to recheck that again because I felt like I've done this problem before and I did not get that answer. 42.5, so that's 42.5. So 180 minus 42.5 is 137.5. Divide that by 2, and you get, yeah? If I'm wrong, definitely let me know in the comments. Okay. Number 10. In this diagram, okay, so we already know that the lines here are parallel, right? So we know AB is parallel to DEF, which means automatically that's 43. This is 43, right? Hopefully you could see. You can make the Z like this as well. The armpits of the Z, alternate interior angles. And BD intersect at C. Angle B is 43 degrees. Okay, I'm just reading here. And the measure of angle CEF is 152, which they already put for us. What statement is true? Okay, so we're talking about angle D. No, we already know angle D is 43 degrees. We could cross that one off. Angle A is 43 degrees. Let's see. How much is this angle over here? Because remember, straight line, right? Straight angle, so they must add up to 180. So that's 152. 180 minus 152, and we get 28. But if this is 28 degrees, guess what? So is this one. And I'm just going to highlight that Z again. Hopefully you could see that Z that I'm talking about, right? The armpit of that Z. Those corners are congruent. So I know angle A is not 43. Now I could actually just find the angles in here because these three angles must add up to 180. Same thing here. I notice you have the same two angles. So 180 minus the 43 and then minus the other angle of 28. And let's see what we get. 180 minus 43 minus 28 is 109. So this angle is 109. So is this angle. That's also 109. Right, vertical angles. So ACD, number 3 is asking for the outside angle over here, ACD, right? And just to show you, ACD is A to C to D. What corner are you trapping? You're trapping this one. So choice 3 is asking you for that one. So let's just find that one real quick and see if that's the correct answer. Well, these two angles are on a straight line, so they must add up to 180. These two must add up to 180. And let's do 180 minus 109, and you do get 71 degrees. So it seems like it's choice 3, but let's just make sure choice 4 is wrong. Measure of angle BCE is 109. They try to trick you here. BCE, right? B to C to E is this one. And we know that that must be 71 degrees as well. So they really try to trick you here with that 109. Oops. All right, so the correct answer is 3. Let's do the next one. I'll just do 12 and then 11. Okay, so again, we have parallel lines, right? Because this entire thing is about angles. Measure of angle EFG is 32 degrees. E to F to G is this corner. I'm just going to put this one in as well, just because I know, the armpit of the Z, alternate interior angles. The measure of angle AEG is 137. So AEG, that's this angle, is 137. Now you may be tempted to put in the alternate interior angle, but just be careful. This corner is congruent to which corner? It's congruent to this one, right? So it's not just this little piece, it's the whole, these two pieces together. And we know this is already 32. So I guess we could just calculate that real quick. But let me undo these markings. And let's just do our thing. What is the measure of angle EGF? Okay, oh, look at that. That's what they were asking us to find. Now, this is not the only way to do it, right? But I'll do it in two ways real quick. So I'm looking at this alternate interior angle. This one must be congruent to this one. If this much of it is 32, then, but we know both of them must add up to 137 because it's congruent to this one. Let's just subtract the 32 from that 137. So 137 minus 32. Let me get 105. Let's undo all of that stuff. So this is 100. Whoops. Go back to my red. So this is 105. Now, another way I could have seen us doing this was looking at this triangle. And we could find out this one because these two angles must add up to 180, right? Because it's a straight angle. So let's find out how much this one is. So that's 180 minus 137. And you get 43. So this angle is 43 degrees. And guess what? The three angles in the triangle must add up to 180. So if I did 180 minus the 43 minus the 32, I should get 105, and I just checked it, and I do get 105. So it doesn't matter how you did it, 105 degrees is the final answer. Okay, do I have another problem underneath that? I don't think so. All right, last one. If the measure of angle FAB, FAB is 48, so F to A to B is this one, so that's 48. We know that they're parallel. I'm going to write my 48 right there as well. And the measure of angle ECB is 18. So E to C to B is this corner. Whoops. Okay, so ECB is 18, so that's this little piece right here. What is the measure of angle ABC? Oh, okay, so that's this little piece right here. Easy. Triangle, 180 degrees. We could figure out this. Anytime you know two angles in a triangle, it is extremely easy to figure out the third one, because you just take 180 and you minus the other two angles. In this case, I'm minusing 48, then I'm minusing 18, and I get 114. So how much is the one next to it? Straight angle, right? Two angles on a straight line. Two angles on a straight line must add up to 180, right? This is what a 180 degree angle looks like. The point, the whole thing, that's 180 degrees. So that's what we're looking at over here. So 180 minus 114. Let me do that again. 180 minus 114. I think I typed something wrong. Nope, I got 66. That's correct. And that's what we were looking for. Done. Let's see. I think that was the end of this. I think that was a really good practice. If you could do these, you could definitely do well on the actual Regents questions that look like these. Okay. Have a good one, everybody.